The history of the samurai is deeply intertwined with the culture, politics, and military of feudal Japan. The samurai were a class of highly trained warriors, and their story stretches over several centuries, from the early formation of Japan's feudal system to the eventual demise of the samurai as a distinct class in the modern era. Here's a detailed look at the rise, life, and decline of the samurai. The samurai originated during the Heian period, 7941-185, which was an era of political stability and flourishing culture for the Japanese aristocracy. The Heian period was characterized by the dominance of the imperial court in Kyoto, but by the 9th century, the central government struggled to control the rural areas of Japan. Power began shifting from the imperial court to local military families, who were tasked with maintaining order and protecting the countryside from internal and external threats. The term samurai comes from the Japanese verb saburao, which means to serve. Initially, the samurai were soldiers serving the aristocratic families or local noblemen, daimyo. Over time, they evolved into a distinct class of professional warriors, skilled in the use of the bow and sword, and were tasked with defending their lord's territories. During this period, the term bushi, meaning warrior, became more common to refer to these early samurai. The bushi were not only fighters but also landowners and administrators who governed provinces on behalf of their lords. The Kamakura period marked a pivotal moment in the history of the samurai. The Genpei War, 1180–1185, a conflict between two powerful clans, the Minamoto and the Taira, played a central role in the rise of the samurai as a political and military force. The war culminated in the Battle of Dan no Yura, 1185, where the Minamoto, led by Minamoto no Yoritamo, decisively defeated the Taira clan. As a result, Yoritamo became the first shogun, establishing the Kamakura shogunate in 1192. This was the beginning of Japan's feudal system, where power was held by the shogun, military ruler, rather than the emperor. The samurai were now firmly embedded in the social and political fabric of Japan. The role of the samurai in the Kamakura shogunate. Under the Kamakura shogunate, samurai served as the primary military force in Japan. They were expected to be loyal to their lords, daimyo, and serve in various military campaigns. The period also saw the establishment of a warrior code, known as Bushido, which emphasized loyalty, honor, and discipline. The samurai's role was not solely as warriors, they also took on administrative duties, including overseeing land, collecting taxes, and administering justice. The samurai class began to develop a distinct culture, with an emphasis on martial arts, the study of strategy, and the cultivation of a stoic, disciplined mindset. The Muromachi period was marked by internal strife and civil war. In 1336, the Ashikaga clan seized control of the shogunate, establishing the Ashikaga shogunate. However, the Ashikaga shoguns were weak rulers, and real power was often in the hands of powerful regional warlords, daimyo. This led to a period of near-constant conflict known as the Sengoku Jidai or Warring States period, 1467 to 1603. The Sengoku period saw samurai playing a central role in a series of brutal wars for control over Japan. Powerful daimyo fought for dominance, building large armies of samurai and employing new strategies and tactics. The samurai's role as both warrior and administrator continued to expand during this time. This period produced some of Japan's most famous samurai figures, including Oda Nobunaga, a brilliant strategist who helped lay the foundations for the unification of Japan. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, Nobunaga's successor, who completed the unification of Japan after Nobunaga's death. Tokugawa Ieyasu, the founder of the Tokugawa shogunate, which would rule Japan for more than 250 years. The Tokugawa period, also known as the Edo period, marked the peak of samurai power. After Tokugawa Ieyasu's victory at the Battle of Sekigahara, 1600, he became the undisputed ruler of Japan and established the Tokugawa shogunate, which would rule for over 250 years. During this time, Japan entered a period of relative peace and stability known as the Pax Tokugawa. The constant warfare of the Sengoku period came to an end, and the samurai class was no longer engaged in battle on a regular basis. Instead, they became bureaucrats and administrators, maintaining law and order in their domains. With peace came the codification of the samurai way of life. The principles of Bushido, the way of the warrior, were formalized, emphasizing loyalty, honor, courage, and personal integrity. Samurai were expected to live by a strict moral code, often defined by the values of loyalty to one's lord, self-discipline, and self-sacrifice. This period also saw the rise of the samurai's distinct aesthetic culture, including the appreciation for tea ceremonies, calligraphy, poetry, and other cultural practices that highlighted the samurai's noble status. In the Edo period, samurai became less warriors and more administrators. They were the ruling class of Japan, occupying positions in government and maintaining order in the provinces. Many samurai, however, were not wealthy and often lived relatively modest lives. Despite their high status, they were often financially strapped, especially as the central government, led by the Tokugawa shogunate, imposed strict regulations on the samurai's lifestyles. The samurai's weapon of choice was the katana, a long, curved sword, and they became symbolically associated with honor and martial prowess. Samurai also followed a strict dress code, which included the wearing of two swords, a katana and a shorter wakizashi, signifying their status as warriors. By the 19th century, Japan was facing increasing pressure from Western nations, who were seeking to open Japan to trade. In 1853, the American Commodore Matthew Perry sailed into Tokyo Bay with a fleet of warships, forcing Japan to open its ports under threat of military action. This event, known as the Black Ships Incident, marked the beginning of Japan's modernization and the end of its isolationist policies. The weakening of the Tokugawa shogunate, coupled with the growing influence of Western powers, led to a series of social and political upheavals. In 1868, the Tokugawa shogunate was overthrown in the Meiji Restoration, and the imperial court was restored to power under Emperor Meiji. With the Meiji Restoration came sweeping reforms that sought to modernize Japan along Western lines. The samurai class, which had once been the ruling elite, was gradually dismantled. The new government abolished the samurai's special privileges, including their right to wear swords in public, and introduced a conscript army based on Western military models. The traditional feudal system was dismantled, and the samurai were relegated to civilian life. In the 1870s, the government officially abolished the samurai as a social class. Many former samurai became bureaucrats, entrepreneurs, or scholars. Some samurai, however, resisted the changes and participated in rebellions, such as the Satsuma Rebellion of 1877, led by Seigo Takamori, one of the last prominent samurai figures in Japanese history. The rebellion was crushed, and the samurai's role in Japanese society came to an end. Though the samurai class was officially disbanded in the late 19th century, their legacy continues to influence Japanese culture and identity to this day. The ideals of Bushido, such as loyalty, honor, and courage, remain important aspects of Japanese cultural values. Samurai imagery appears in literature, film, and popular media, and their historical role continues to fascinate people worldwide. Today, the samurai are remembered as symbols of discipline, skill, and a complex cultural heritage that shaped Japan's history for centuries.